Tunnel of Time.
Now, on TV through the tunnel of time.com, from the mid-'80s to the early '90s at WCIX-TV Channel 6, and its transition to WFOR Channel 4. In Season 1, Episode 4 of Up and Down the Broadcast Trail, the station went from being a sleepy independent with a 10 o'clock news to becoming the first Fox affiliate in the country, then a full-blown CBS owned and operated station. Some of the behind-the-scenes management and on-air talent survived the changes. Some did not. Some by their own choice. Others, quote, to pursue other interests, end quote. All life lessons learned and experiences of a lifetime. And how the tragedy of the ValuJet crash impacted those who worked the story. But there's also some great bloopers, too. On board for the video podcast, producer Jeff Lemlich.
I'm glad I was there. I'm glad I was a part of it, and I'm glad I'm gone from it.
Director Pete McCoy.
You ended up winning, you know? You ended up controlling the situation.
Reporter Mark Tadino.
And I thought to myself, okay, am I living in some parallel universe here or something? Is this going on really? Are you really telling me this?
And yours truly, weekend weatherman, RJ Heim.
I'm not really waiting for the apology. But the circumstances, you know, some things happen for a reason and sometimes it happens.
Sponsored by Washington Trust, celebrating 225 years. Good for you and good for your community. Brock's Fresh Foods, family owned, focusing on homegrown local fresh foods with 2 locations. West Greenwich, exit 14B off Interstate 95, and 1183 Boston Neck Road, Narragansett. And Motif Magazine, your source for all things local.
TV through the Tunnel of Time. Up and down the broadcast trail.
WCIX becomes a CBS owned and operated station. We had been working with a 35-person staff, so they had to double and triple that to start doing a 6 and an 11 o'clock news because we're carrying network programming. That's when they hired J.D. Roberts from Canada and Giselle Fernandez.
The company says already Max is penetrating the market at $8 a dozen. They're selling hard nationwide, filling a void previously not exploited, proving bigger is better, at least for the manufacturer.
Nothing I can say after that.
And I suggest you don't.
Still ahead on Channel 6 Action News. It wasn't the big one.
But California quakes can be terrifying and deadly. We'll tell you about today's, and there's more.
A soggy one for South Florida. I'm Maria Gennaro, and I'll tell you if we have more wet on the way. That's coming up next on Channel 6 Action News.
What are your recollections of that, Jeff?
We also hired Al Sunshine to report, Jessica Aguirre. As far as JD and Giselle, that was a whole different era. I think CBS had taken over and they were starting to bring their people in. And that was bad news for Barbara Sloan and Jim Dyer. They had been our primary anchors. A lot of anchoring is psychological. A lot of it is, you know, you can do this. You know, you've got to be sharp. Personally, watching Jim Dyer, I think it had a big effect on him being moved to weekends because he was too good to be a weekend guy. But JD was brought in basically to learn news so that he can go on within the network. And eventually they were talking about him replacing Dan Rather on CBS.
Right. And he had been a VJ, like an MTV channel in Canada before he came to Miami to be a serious news.
JD did the Pope coverage for Fox.
I believe it.
For those who don't know, he's John Roberts now.
Yeah.
Right.
But still, so there's your progression right there, Jeff, from where you saw him come in to learn to the new Pope announcement. It's quite a journey.
Right. There's a lot going on behind the scenes with all this anchor maneuvering. We had an associate producer named Marty Haynes. Do you all remember Marty?
Yes.
Oh, I
Nice,
do.
Yeah.
Very nice young lady. I really liked working with her. One of my favorite people to work with. But it was kind of a secret that she was hired by CBS's top management. She wasn't really there to be an associate producer. You know, she was there to learn it and then become an anchor. And I think some of the people who've been there a long time we're starting to realize that it was a new day. A lot of them weren't going to be around anymore. And if you really look at the roster of people from the early 80s to the early 90s, it was a huge turnover, even with all the people that we hired. Just look at the weather people. RJ, at least when you came in, you brought some stability to that because it really was a revolving door.
It's got a big football game here on Channel 6 tomorrow night. A lot of people are wondering how the weather in Chicago is going to be.
The Dolphins and the Bears at Soldier Field tomorrow should be rather cloudy. A weak front will be passing through, but temperatures in the 70s. Hardly the hot, steamy weather we have here in South Florida. Good ball game weather up there tomorrow. The 10-day outlook has promised for the Florida Peninsula for the next 10 days through August the 20th. Temperatures here once again running above normal, and our precip will be about normal. So it'll be hotter and still wet. Due to the current conditions now, we'll take a look at that tropical weather in a moment. The beach earlier this morning, beautiful day there. Miami 84, same on the beach. Kendall 84, Fort Lauderdale 83, Key West with sunshine in the past hour 89. Water temp 87, north winds at 10, humidity 67, pressure falling 30.20. Less than 4 weeks now until the historical height of the hurricane season.
I can't even remember all the names, but I know Glenn Hutton came in. Dave Corey, who was a booth announcer there, he was doing weekend weather for a time. Gary Travers came after you.
Yes.
Well, Stan, it is going to be another extraordinarily cold night in the eastern half of the country.
It was just a huge turnover, and I think it was a different mindset for those of us who had been there a long time, because we were used to being Channel 6 where you didn't have to be perfect. You know, at Channel 6, that's where people got hired to learn their craft. That's where people were sent to move on to the next level, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And I felt it too, being from the old guard, you know, that producers were being hired with very little experience at more money, you know. And I think
well, nothing changed.
In my case, they realized that I wasn't going to leave, that I was probably just going to keep staying there. And so I kept getting passed over for things too. Now, to be fair, a lot of it was my fault. I did not like producing the 11 o'clock news. They couldn't plug me into a lot of morning things because of my sleep problems. I was taking sleeping pills. I took sleeping pills for 21 years. Had several sleep disorders, and it did affect my work to a certain extent. How could it not? So I do take a lot of blame for that at the end too. But I think a lot of it was the standards that I was holding myself to. Giselle was a wonderful person to work with, to me. Not to everybody. There are a lot of people who just don't like strong women.
RJ Heim here now with more on Gustav, and I guess only time will tell what's going to actually happen.
Over the next few days, we'll know better what Gustav is going to do. Right now, it's only on a scale of 1 to 5. Gustav is a 1 with winds of 80 miles an hour.
I shouldn't say don't like, but who just don't want to take orders from strong women. Giselle was a very strong woman. I loved that. I love the fact that it wasn't just good enough to be good. She wanted to be great. She wanted to just be the top at her craft.
And she looked great too. She looked great. She was a journalist. She was thorough.
Yeah.
There are new coordinates just out on this season's latest hurricane. So let's go straight to RJ Heim for the very latest. RJ, where exactly is Gustav and how dangerous is he?
And she was fearless. That's the thing. That's the top word I used to describe her. And we had fun. If we'd be out on a story, we'd have fun. I mean, I mentioned earlier very briefly about us going to Stark to interview Francisco Fuster Escalona. We had a blast that day. You know, you hear something like that, it's very serious. But with Giselle, she just, I can't say enough just wonderful things about working with her. We didn't always follow the rules. Let me just put it that way, especially Giselle. I mean, when Giselle was sent to Haiti, of course, she got Haiti's president. Nobody could get Haiti's president.
Yeah, she was great.
She had this way of when she went out to get a story, she got the story. No one told her no. She didn't take no for an answer. And I admired her for that because I wasn't that tough. I learned how to be tough. I wasn't because I was too nice all the time. But I learned how to go up to someone who's an anchor or someone like that, truth to power, and just say, look, we either do it or we don't. But that was more into when I was doing special projects. I think, my best power there was as a special projects producer, not as a line producer, because I didn't enjoy that. When you're a line producer, you're on the phone constantly. You can't concentrate on your writing or what you're doing. You've got reporters, you've got anchors, you've got assignment
Well,
desks.
I enjoyed working here as a line producer, and I would have the experience later on after I left Channel 6 and moved on, that it was always my preference to have a producer who was under control. And you always were under control. You never lost your mind. You never went crazy. I mean, you were intense, but you were focused intense. And I think, at least from my stylistic standpoint, it was a far better working option. You may not feel that way in retrospect, but in my mind, I enjoyed working with a producer who did that kind of work.
J.D. Roberts, he only lasted there a year. I left in the fall of 1990 to go to WHP.
Severe thunderstorms started forming late this afternoon, knocking down trees and power lines again. Then came the tornado warning for South Hanover Township, north of Hummelstown in Dauphin County. News 21 viewer Cecil Hagenfeld picked up his camcorder and started rolling.
Because I got that great reporting tape.
Let's take a look at the tide. No. Before it looks like there's... It is. It looks like... You're going to sing to me now. Have I a hope for half a chance to ask if I could dance with you?
Over and over again, people who've been interviewed after Hugo in South Carolina, the one thing they claim they would do differently is they would evacuate if they didn't. They would evacuate sooner if they did.
The Miami Daily News dated September 18th, 1926 said this: Miami Beach has been isolated from the mainland. It's feared a monster tidal wave swept across the entire island city.
Sent that out, and JD left shortly thereafter. Then they had two women anchor. It was Barbara Sloan and Giselle Fernandez.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing shower activity, that's what we should say right now.
The umbrellas, they're
That's
out.
all. Just keep them with you.
There's a reason JD left so quickly. I don't know if I really want to get into the whole thing, but...
Well, give us the headlines.
Still ahead on Channel 6 Action News, this is no piece of cake.
If you ever get to watch this, John Roberts, we're cushioning it a little bit.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
They were looking for a home, and they were shown Richmond Heights. There were some decent-looking places and decent-looking areas in Richmond Heights, but it's not a great neighborhood. And his wife... If I recall correctly, his wife got mugged or something happened there. She wasn't happy here, but it basically got to the point where, they wanted to leave South Florida. Great news area, but
part of that Bermuda Triangle,
Yeah.
Mother Teresa.
It was twist. Yeah, right. My take on JD is that he learned a lot and he was very smart and he was easy to teach. Just my feeling on some things that when the new anchors came in, it was a little harder on those of us that were producing before. But if you could win them over, that would be a really nice thing. And I think after I won my first Emmy, things started to change. As a producer, I started to work with JD. I started to work with John Hambrick when he came in. In fact, I did several with John Hambrick.
I think all of this humidity is affecting our vocal cords. What do you think?
I don't know.
You've been goosed or something. Maria Janero tracking Diana.
What?
And everything else of importance and consequence.
Ooh, that's...
I did one with Ken Matz.
At Channel 6, if you want to sit here, you can't just sit around.
We can tell you this.
That's why Ken Matz is earning a reputation for going to the scene, getting personally involved, and tackling sensitive issues.
So what is the immediate answer?
If we expected anything less, he wouldn't sit still for it.
Good evening, I'm Ken Matz.
Ken Matz on Channel 6 Action News. We're earning our reputation, one story at a time.
Susan Candiotti.
When you report the news at Channel 6, just covering stories isn't enough. So you ask questions no one else would think of. And you provide answers only an expert could know. Susan Candiotti investigates. At Channel 6 Action News, we're earning our reputation, one story at a time.
Giselle and Ralph Murciano and I worked on Devil in Our Church, which was my favorite series to work on. In a lot of ways, it was tumultuous, but we were growing. And around the same time, too, they were bringing in all the consultants. Ron Tendelia was the main consultant. Very sweet man, very nice man. Some of our management were turned into zombies when he would be around. It was like, yes, sir, no, sir, yes, sir, no, sir. His word was like gospel truth.
But no matter what they were trying to do at Channel 6 with talent, with technology, all of it, they were still hampered by that crappy signal.
Yeah.
That's when the next phase came in, where the old Channel 6 in another deal became WFOR TV. The same studios became a CBS O&O that way on the Channel 4 signal.
From WFOR TV, this is News 4 South Florida.
Happy New Year, everybody. I'm Anita Smith in for Cambrell Mark.
Yep, we did. And we got the call letters because of the Channel 4 FOR. And it was some station in like Mississippi that had it, some AM radio station, I think, that had WFOR. And we had to like either buy it from them or somehow finagle the WFOR. I think we all voted on it as a group that's what we wanted the call letters to be, which was kind of fun, give everybody some ownership of it. Away we went then.
That changed everything. It changed everything.
Yeah.
It did.
Now, live, this is CBS 4 News First at 5.
Straight off the top at 5, we've got big weather news. First, running from the rain as storms soak South Florida once again.
It changed the way management looked at things, too. I mean, we're talking about Alan Shacklin, Jay Newman. They brought in Neil Goldstein as news director. From that point on, it was more about winning. They wanted to win. And we all wanted to win, too. We wanted to have good ratings.
You finally had the signal to reach both Dade and Broward counties.
Right. But it also confused the hell out of people as which one is Channel 4 and which one is Channel 6.
But the thing that worked in your favor was the fact that CBS had always been on Channel 4 prior to the couple of years when it was on Channel 6. So when it went back to 4, people were like, okay, 4 is CBS. And then you put on a great product and you were winning then. 11 o'clock news, you're number 1. I mean, that must have felt great.
Yeah, it was not something that we were used to, but it was something that was just telling us that this is a different time now. But I think a lot of that came with Neil Goldstein too, that he was a bulldog and he wanted to win basically at all costs. I clashed with him sometimes. I guess I'm more of an old school type of journalist. The who, what, where, when, why, but make it interesting. You can make it interesting and still have the facts in there. When I think we had somebody who walked into the newsroom and laid down copies of the Enquirer and said, this is how I want you to write, for the National Enquirer, it's style of writing. We were looking at Channel 7 and the success they were having, too.
Live from Channel 7, South Florida's news station. Denise White, Rick Sanchez, weather with Bob Soper, and sports with Jim Barry. This is Channel 7 News at 6:30.
Their brand of Crime Watch.
They became the Fox affiliate, and then they filled the rest of the programming with news, and they just did tabloid, but it worked. They
the whole Sally Fitz, Rick Sanchez type of thing.
Live from Channel 7, South Florida's news station. Sally Fitz.
Dangerous situation out here. People were shot in this area under drugs. What are they charging you with? Down around Biscayne Boulevard? As a prostitute. Police move in.
Will Sanchez be in your neighborhood tonight? Don't go to bed without seeing Crime Check, only on Channel 7 News at 10.
Loose with the facts, but in your face, and drama, blood, guts, and murder.
But how could news in Miami not be influenced by that, especially with all that success? So we were starting to move in that direction too. And for me, when I decided to leave the station, part of it was I was missing opportunities. My book had come out.
But there were some members of his band that went to Southwest High, and I lived literally a block down the street from Southwest High. Their song was top 10 on WFUN and WQAM. and I would listen to it all the time. It was one of my favorite songs.
I had a lot of opportunities to go and promote and move on to things, and I wasn't ready to because I still was very happy at the station. I was the senior writer at the time, and it seemed to fit me at first because the best thing that I did was writing there. To me, the last straw was the ValuJet crash, the plane crash in the Everglades. It's still hard for me to talk about that. 110 people in the Everglades dead on my 40th birthday, no less. Like I said, this is hard to talk about. I felt that as a TV news producer, to be successful, you can't really think about the stories too much. I felt like I was losing my sense of humanity. I felt like on slow news days, I wanted something to happen to have a great lead story. And it's almost to the point of, oh, there's a big fire. Great. Oh, he was hit by a car. Great. I've got a lead story. That's not me. That's not me. I didn't want to be that person. The plane crashes in the Everglades. It's a Saturday afternoon, May 11th, 1996. I get called in because I volunteered. It was a Saturday. I didn't have to work. So I get to the station and I'm ready to go out to the scene. I'm ready to do anything it takes to get this story on the air. Our news director came up to me and said, I need some ominous music for the show that we're doing, this thing on ValuJet. Okay, well, I didn't have time to go home and find music, so I had to find something from our music library. And Al Huff was helping me with this. Al was the audio guy, so, he knew it was in our library there. And there was nothing good, but that was my big assignment for the newscast. I put the music on. I get called into the office. That wasn't ominous enough. We need much more ominous music. So that's what I did the first day of this plane crash. I didn't lend my abilities to much of anything except finding ominous music. Next comes my chance to produce these shows. And the mandate was every story had to talk about Channel 4 and put it in the lead. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but we were writing stories about the best in town, exclusive pictures from the crash scene. So what were we showing? We were showing, first of all, there were no bodies. Everyone was dismembered in this awful, horrible crash. We're showing body parts being taken out and putting exclusive over there. To me, this was the sleaziest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And writing more about our chopper than it was about these poor people in the Everglades and their poor families.
Chopper 4. Steadier. Closer. Sharper focus. Covering the news from all angles, so you see it better. Chopper 4. Only on News 4 South Florida.
There were a million stories out there. And yeah, we covered the crash. I'm not making it sound like we didn't cover the crash, but we sleazed it up so badly. Well, my last straw was the Thursday afterwards. It was a few days into it, and we had a little bit of time to digest what had happened with the crash. But the problem is it was a Thursday, and NBC walloped us on the ratings on Thursdays because that was their blockbuster. That was their Seinfeld night. So they didn't want to go with a regular newscast because we'd be in the book. Our lower ratings would be counted against us. So they said, it's going to be a special. We've got to do a special that'll take it out of the ratings book. So if no one's watching, we don't care, because it won't hurt our ratings. So I go in there and I produce this special, and it just had nothing. It had no humanity at all. I needed to rediscover that. I didn't want to be happy when there was a terrible news going on because it gives me a lead story. I wanted to go be human. I wanted to feel things again. I stopped feeling anything. I was numb to it all, and that had to stop. Yeah. So I left. Yeah. I left May of 1996, only to come back a few weeks later because there was a hurricane coming. And the assistant news director called me up and said, hey, if you want to come in and
just write
freelance, come in and freelance, you can. So I came in. I actually went back on the station. I was happy to see everybody. I'd had a few weeks off. It was like, great, I got my Dan back, and it was really nice. And So they started calling me back in again to do some freelancing. I was making more money as a freelancer than I was as a full-timer. And that was really nice. And I stayed on 3 more years as a freelancer. And I got to work with Julie Schott, who I like to work with, and a lot of the really nice people.
Jeff, I'm sorry that all that happened. You know, but I'll tell you this, as we've all sort of had our experiences that we don't like to have had happen to us based on, you know, who as good as we think we are. You ended up winning, you know, you ended up controlling the situation. You ended up doing what you need to do to preserve yourself in that situation. And we've all, I mean, one day we can talk. I got a great story to tell you how my career ended too, Jeff. But, you know, you have to wrest control again so that you can live into the future. And we've done our television. We mastered it. It's in the past. You know, I'm not doing it still. We've done it. Okay. We are successful and we're done. And to be able to sort of say, look, I'm going to now control my own self going to the future is the winner. You're a winner. And that's what it is. And we have to remind ourselves always. I mean, I'm very happy right now that RJ's doing this because it tells me that he's taken his situation and is advancing it in a way that he can control it. You know what I mean? Rather than having to go in and be the only person doing all the weathercasts and all the social media and all the updates and all the everything without any help. Like it's the way it went. You see, it just progressed to worse and worse and worse. Right. I mean, at the end, Jeff, I was directing. Remember we used to hand out 25 rundowns, right? Yeah. Right? 25 rundowns. Guess how many I would hand out at the end of my career? One.
How many? One.
And that was it because I was the only one doing anything. I was doing everything. All the equipment was controlled by all automation, controlled through one source. So they only needed one person. There were times during COVID, Jeff, I was the only person at the station. The only person, the whole station, a $220 million Ferrari, and I had the keys, you know, I'm the only one. And that's the way it got. So you got out at a good time because you saw the way it took your humanity, like you said. And it's a shame that the business does that.
This is
If I may add, I saw what was happening to me and I needed to make a living and I needed to forward my career, which is why I left.
It's a holiday weekend. That means outdoor picnics, outdoor swimming.
Wouldn't it be nice to have fall weather?
Cool, crisp, clear.
I almost forgot. I bought a new camera, and I just wanted to see how it works. Now, Diana, could you get one of Barbara and me here while I tell you about the 10-day outlook? The 10-day outlook that I promised. Oh, I wasn't smiling.
I didn't want to leave, but those were circumstances. But had I not left and gone to Harrisburg,
the funnel cloud hit the house there on the corner and lifted its roof, picked it up, and moved it 1/8 of a mile and deposited it right down here on Margate Drive.
Then Harrisburg wouldn't have led to 30.5 years at Channel at the number one.
Of course.
That record high to break Tuesday is 79. We won't do that, but we'll be in the 60s those 2 days. Wednesday, the record high to break is 67. I think we'll do that with near 70 next week.
Of course. So you won also because you were able to sort of take control. And that's where you win. That's the way you win. There's great stories, but in the end, you have to win for yourself to get through it. And
and Jeff, you're doing what you want to do now too.
Yeah.
So I think that's why we all survived. I think that's why we all survived. When the transition happened from the sleepy little independent station to a CBS O&O, it didn't happen overnight. It was we had to climb this technological ladder, right? Which led to a lot of bloopers.
And now, on Christmas Day, the crew of Channel 6 Action News with Al Sunshine, Shannon High, Dan Levington, Karen Brooks, Ralph Murciano, Evie Woods, Tony Jerez, Paul Stuber, Louis Medellin, of the Channel 6 Action News crew wishing you a Merry Christmas.
Didn't it?
Yes.
More so than I think that the other stations had. What comes to mind?
Jeff used to record them all, which was which was to our advantage at the end of the year. And just so you know, after you left, Abel Castillo and I continued the blooper process, Jeff, in your name, until corporate got involved. And this is where the link right here is the CBS corporate in the blooper reel. One year we're getting ready to do it, and they called us aside and they said, no more. Hi, Mark. No more blooper reel. It's too much in our corporate world. And we couldn't do it.
HR.
We weren't allowed.
I look at some of the bloopers from the 80s now, and Jeff, you posted a number of them online, and thank God you did. But I mean, I looked at them again. It's like, oh my God, some of the stuff that we had on there made with their equipment, edited in their edit bays. I mean, now if that would happen, there'd be multi-million-dollar lawsuits.
Christmas memories, the kind you always keep.
Those stories
tonight.
You bet. I don't even get to say those stories and more. He wants it all. I don't get to say anything.
Maria.
Joyce, what's happening? Can you hear us?
I need to get up there.
Joyce? Go ahead.
Having a little trouble getting in touch with Joyce Evans. She may not be able to hear us, or if she does, she's looking the wrong way. If Joyce is ready to go, Joyce?
Okay, Barbara Sola, we've got nothing but people here as far as the eye can see. I don't even know if you can hear me. Folks are jumping in front of the camera.
We'll be here live at Marklight Stadium at 10 o'clock.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Coming up on the 10 o'clock news, we'll have more news for you right after this.
And we'll show you how to reach out and touch someone in an entirely new way.
Is my thing plugged in? Yes, it is. Right now, tropical wave. Gotta check these things every now and then.
Maura's troubles began earlier this year when a federal audit uncovered the fact that she allegedly diverted tens of thousands of dollars in food stamp money to remodel this child. Truly amazing. There, folks, goes a future county manager for Dade County, Florida. He's in the search committee, I promise. Now he's mooning me.
Hey, no can do. Gotta stay with Channel 6.
A dangerous situation near He moons me in the middle of this.
How do you like that one, John?
Come over here in front of the camera and do it, Ed.
Give us the report, John.
Yeah. Hey.
And this is the wrong tape, boys and girls. This is Jim Carsados. Let's go to the American League scoreboard, and we'll have a look at that tonight. Maybe. I hope so much. They're leaving me out here, folks, to die.
A car crash that paralyzed a member of the band Lynyrd Skynyrd. Lynyrd Skynyrd.
A Fort Lauderdale police officer narrowly escaped serious injury tonight. But we're going to a different story. Well, we have to go somewhere. All right, we are efforting Don Dare.
The family of Patricia Bua held a memorial service today at...
Let's try Channel 6.
Now, these headlines from the 10 o'clock news.
Broward County deputies tally up more than 50 arrests overnight in their quack sweep. Quack.
Quack, 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 quack. In their quack effort. Quack.
Send that one to... Oh, boy.
Here we are.
We'll see the rest of that tomorrow night during the 10 o'clock news. We're running a little short on time, obviously, Mike.
The Scouts also demonstrated the proper procedure for burning a flag. And that's something good to know if you ever plan to burn a flag or get rid of one.
All right.
But not on a rainy day like this one.
That's true. It's awful wet today, and it's going to be that way until Tuesday. Maybe some
just
clearing.
chit-chat. Just chit-chat.
Just chit-chat here on television.
Channel 6 News reporter Dave Game is in Tallahassee and working long hours with them. He joins us with a live report in a moment. But first, tonight, Miami police are holding a suspect.
The collapse of a three-story children's hospital in India has already taken at least 14 lives. Rescuers fear the toll will increase. Located in the northern state of Kashmir, authorities say the collapse of the new wing was apparently due to a foundation failure.
30 where is that? That's Kansas.
Now, believe it or not, folks, is the wrong tape, okay, boys and girls? This is interviews. We were going to show you highlights. We got the wrong tape. We're wrong. So let's get off this now. And now we got some highlights. And now we're back. Look at this. This is live television at its finest.
Catch of the decade, I don't know. I might be stretching a bit,
Well, it was
Barbara.
lovely.
It was lovely.
Something to say. Okay.
But today is tomorrow. I wanted to tell you that. Thank you.
It's a nice description, Barbara. Lovely catch. Still to come on this late edition of the 10 o'clock news.
This thing's doing it again. Do you know that? Isn't someone supposed to check these things out before I get on the air?
One final item here. Palm Beach police. No, this was canceled, so we'll leave that for another time.
That's right.
It's been a long day.
Well, that's our Sunday report. I'm Beverly Counts Rodriguez. For Ed, RJ, and everyone who works the weekends, thanks for watching. Be sure to join us again tomorrow night at 10.
We're earning our reputation, one story at a time.
That's of seeing shower activity. That's what we should say right now.
The umbrellas, they're out.
That's all. Just keep them with you.
The king may be gone, but for many of his fans, everything Elvis Presley ever touched is immortal. We'll get back to that story in just 1 second. Barb? All right. It's a good thing Zsa Gabor isn't camera shy. At least 100 shutterbugs stood by to take her picture as she walked into a Beverly Hills courtroom with her hairdresser by her side. Miss Gabor is charged with slapping a motorcycle cop who stopped her for a minor traffic violation.
Pro-choice forces aren't the least bit happy about the court's ruling, which they call a giant step backwards and a war against women. Tonight they tell our Channel 6 Action News reporter Stephen Langford they're not about to sit still. And if it's a fight their opponents want, it's a fight they're going to get.
Barbara Sloan and Giselle Fernandez. Channel 6 Action News.
Hi again, everyone. Here's what's happening.
J.D. Roberts and Giselle Fernandez. Channel 6 Action News.
Good evening. Giselle has the night off. Tonight, police are having a hard time.
Late tomorrow night, or perhaps even as late as Monday.
So when he gets there, what can we expect? They keep talking about the highest tides in a decade. What does that mean? I think one of those tides got bobbed. Not really, but we've just lost lost contact with him. We'll go on to something else.
It could happen to anyone.
We're earning our reputation, one story at a time.
A separate survey also found that teenage boys are having less sex than they did a decade ago. It's because they're in their 20s now and only have it once a week. And those in the over 70s have sex less than once a month.
Okay, we're not talking about her sex life now, but one South Florida senior isn't slowing down despite her age.
It's been done to their neighborhood. Back to you.
Thank you, Dave. We'll see what happens there.
And that is sports. That's the whole program. Thank you for having us. News. The Pat Sajak Show is next. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not.
I have
Boy,
one more
was
to
I
go,
run, I was
and you
just
won't
getting ahead of
That's
myself.
okay. You won't want to miss this one, Johnny.
Okay.
A look tonight, finally, at the...
Those stories and more are just seconds away.
We're earning our reputation one story at a time. Now, Barbara Sloan and J.D. Roberts. Channel 6 Action News.
Hello again, everyone.
Still to come on Channel 6 Action News, should children be kept out of Broward condos?
Voters are at the polls deciding that and other important issues.
And the Japanese are building on the beach. Is this the start of a trend? What's next?
It could happen to anyone.
Still to come on Channel 6 Action News, keeping our kids physically fit.
We'll tell you about the new program that's put kids in motion, and there's more.
What time is it there, Dan?
It's after 2 a.m. in the morning here now, Mike.
Go to sleep. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike.
Still ahead on Channel 6 Action News, this is no piece of cake. You'll meet a woman working on the height of cake making, and there's more.
Tropical weather's getting pretty active. I'm RJ Heim. Stay right there. I'll have that and the weekend weather forecast next.
None of us were immune to the skit reel or the discrepancy report. You know what I mean? And that was the end of the day. You know, you just tried not to make the same mistake twice, and that was pretty much it. It was all based on innocence, I'm sure, most of it. You know, mispronouncing of words like, say, like Linrid Skinrid. You remember that one? Skinrid. There's just little funny things that happen along the way.
Well, Jeff, in Beverly Counts Rodriguez's, in her defense, I wouldn't think that she'd have any Leonard Skinner records.
No, I don't think so.
Or Linrid Skinrid records either.
Yeah, it's spelled Lynyrd, Skynyrd, and cold reading it on the air.
When Giselle first came down here, of course, she didn't know Miami. You know, it's a new city for her. And there was a story at the Seaquarium, and she would say Sea Aquarium, you know, at the Miami Sea Aquarium. And as a producer, you realize sometimes if someone's new, you got to just get in their ear and make sure they know how to pronounce something.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't even think anything of it until she said it.
But there were a lot of frustrations, too, with the anchor people with this technological curve trying to go from sleepy little Channel 6 to a CBS O&O station. You know, there's wrong cameras being punched up when we're trying to go seamless from one newscast to another. You'd see the frustration in some of the anchors, like Barbara. She'd be there. She'd be popped up on camera when she's not supposed to be. And she's like,
yeah,
you know, and then
I loved working with Barbara. I loved working with her.
So finally she left. It was her and Giselle, and then Giselle left, right?
Yeah.
And then what happened?
My apologies for rejoining the party.
No, that's okay. You got an attorney's office to run over.
You know what? I'll leave it at this. I don't want to cut Jeff's story off because I love to hear it. This tells you where my head is at, where I'd rather be talking to you guys about this than actually doing stuff that could make me money. But I have been so enjoying this, and I'll shut up. I'm sorry, Jeff.
Hey, Mark, I suffer from a lot of brain fog, so you gave me a chance to think about it a little bit, too, so that's fine.
We call that refreshing the witness's memory, Jeff, in my business these days. So you're more than welcome. Go ahead.
So, yeah, I was asking, what can you tell us about how Barbara Sloan left and how difficult that must have been from her being the main anchor through the Taft days and the TVX days prior to CBS O&O and navigating through all that?
I think it wasn't easy. They always say that the person is leaving to pursue some other opportunities. I think everyone knew that that wasn't the case with Barbara. It's very... I guess it still is, but even in those days, it's very tough for a woman in her 40s to really stay on camera.
For the WFOR days.
I thought she was there for part of that.
She was there. She was there because Don Cox, her husband, was an engineer, and I remember he would shade the cameras in the back for her. So she was there briefly.
Oh, okay.
Before she left. Shade the cameras, tweak the cameras, make her look good.
All the cameras need to be shaded so the colors are right, skin tones and things like that. He would make sure her camera was extra perfect.
Thanks, Ralph Sanchez.
You don't need me.
For you, baby.
Yeah, he's right, of course.
Yes, very much.
Because I guess at the time he liked her or something, but they ended up getting married and were married.
Well, that would make sense.
A long time, yeah. You know, I mean, he passed a couple of years ago.
I was unsuccessful at tracking her down. No one had her phone number. I mean, I tried reaching out to Giselle. She's at Spectrum News now in Los Angeles. I tried reaching out to Gail Anderson on her Instagram. I know she's read the messages, and I pleaded with her last night. I'm like, don't make me beg, but Gail, girl, GUUURRRRL, I'd love to have you on this thing, but she didn't get back to me. So
She was so funny.
yeah, oh, I loved her. I loved her. She was.
Right now, on top of that, a bunch of bull. You know, who's he kidding? Okay.
She was.
Now, Jim Dyer passed away a while ago, did he not?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, about 3 years ago, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was sad. That was sad.
But
those guys were good to me even as a part-time guy. RJ, you can remember we were the weekend crew, and
yeah,
they never big-timed us. They never pretended to be more than what they were. They were always very decent, professional, and even-handed. And I always appreciated that. I mean, it was nice to know that you were part of the team, and that was always comforting. And the anchors aren't always like that. I can tell you that for a fact.
No, it's true. It's true.
Maybe that's why none of them are on here now, because maybe they've had cathartic moments to think about it, to be like, oh no, either they don't want to think about it or they don't want to go there. Are there any other stories that any of you think that come to mind about those WCIX days, mid 80s to, 90, 91 that jump out at you?
For me, everything was new. So I was just at the beginning of my career. So every day might have been something new and I didn't even know it. It was all about just learning for me. And that was what everybody was doing.
Yeah, one story for you here is on our weekends. It was just one of the things that was tough was having a skeleton crew all the time. I got in the early afternoon, usually about 1 o'clock, 1:30. Woody was there, Woody Woodruff. He was the photographer. And after he came back to the station, I was just so, I don't know if it's angry or burned out or exactly what it was. It's just how bad our coverage was. So I remember that Woody and we wound up going out that night we saw a band called the Screaming Sneakers that were playing on Miami Beach. And that's what got me thinking about how I was kind of living in two worlds and what is professionalism. I think one of the things that held me back, and I don't know if I'd change this, was the fact that I wore shorts and rock band T-shirts to work, which isn't exactly the most professional, but that's who I was. Yeah. That's exactly who I was. And once I got to work, I was completely professional, and I devoted everything I had to getting those newscasts on or those series on or whatever the case may be. You know, but I lived in both worlds, and it's hard to live in both worlds because I was a punk, and I in a lot of ways I was with the punks, but I almost had to hide what I was doing when I'd be around my punk friends, because it's like they're flipping burgers, and here I am. I produced a newscast an hour ago, and I'm there doing mine. And it's kind of hard to do that. Part of me is the intellectual me, and part of me is the street kid me, and they would have to come together and be as one. I had to learn a lot, not only about news, but I had to learn a lot about who I was and how where I fit in things.
There was a lot of camaraderie as well. I mean, we would spend a lot of time after the newscasts with Mark, not just you, but Ed Berliner, Walt Gray, go to people's houses, have a little barbecue in the back, beers and stories. And
you talk about the stuff that you remember from those days. And first of all, Jeff, I never found you to be anything but affable, professional, and approachable. And believe me, that was in stark contrast to a lot of the producers at the time. And that was, partially my fault, as I referenced earlier. But I just want to say, not trying to be obsequious. I really appreciated your down to earth and just the fun that we have in talking. If you want to know about one particular thing that stands out from that entire time, one year on New Year's Eve, after the show had been done, the decision was made by somebody. It was like, I don't know, a Tuesday night or something. Of course, you had to work the late shift on New Year's Eve, and everyone's just kind of hanging out. So we ended up going to somebody's house. Jeff, it even may have been your house. I don't even remember.
It was.
It was? Okay. All right. Here we go. Now,
1988.
I ran this. Okay, and I ran this story by RJ when we were doing prep for this, and he green lighted it. So I'm just going to let it rip, and then you guys can go from there. I may have to change the names or omit some names, but basically, what happened was we all gathered at, I guess it was Jeff's house. Did you have a fire pit in the backyard or something of that nature?
We had a party room in the back. It wasn't a
That's
fire
what it
pit.
was.
It was
And
party
I
room.
remember us being outside, and we're all sitting out there. Pete, I don't know if you were there. I'm pretty sure RJ was there.
He
and we're
was
all
there.
sitting
RJ
around.
was there. Yep.
Okay, having a beer, drinking, doing whatever was being done back in the 80s in Miami. I'll let you use your
You mean a
imagination.
little of this?
That's entirely possible. The sweet stinky was in play. Yes,
But it was always after the shows. We'd never do that.
Oh yeah. Oh no. That wasn't the case. Right. But so we're sitting around, and all of a sudden, the topic comes up about what do you remember most about the previous year? It was 1986 going into 87. Now, I don't know. They started some pretty innocuously. There were like 8 or 9 of us around this. I remember it being a fire pit, but maybe it wasn't. It was just a table. But anyway, and the conversations were like, well, I want to do better about my job, or I want to get better at my work, or I want to do better with my relationships. It's almost like one of these self-help sessions. And I remember saying at the time, I had been fired from Green Bay. I had been partially employed for 10 months at that point. I was very frustrated. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I was, only working Saturdays and Sundays. I was 26 years old. I saw my career slipping away. And so I expressed frustration and embarrassment. I was embarrassed because when you lose your job, you lose a part of your identity as to who you are and what you were doing. And that became a focal point for me at 25, 26 years old. That's what I wanted to do. I've been wanting to do it since I was 15 years old. So to lose that, and really what I thought through no fault of my own, was incredibly humiliating. So that came out. And then
just let it rip, Mark.
All right.
Do it.
All right.
Do it.
So we get around to PG stuff at that point. And then got up and he said, the most important thing that happened to me this year is I got 2 women pregnant at the same time. Oh my God. And we all stopped and looked at each other and go, what did he just say? And mind you, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sipping a beer and somebody else is passing something around. I'm like, did he really just say that? And he started, I'm like, that didn't happen. He goes, yeah. I had to tell one, and then I had to tell another at the same time, and it was black. And this went on for about a solid 4 or 5 minutes. And we were all just sitting there, open mouth, just stunned at what had just taken place.
Well,
and that opened up the floodgates. And I'm telling you guys, it's like somebody cut a vein and everybody started to talk about everything incredibly personally. Women were talking about how they felt inadequate because of the way they looked. I don't remember who it was at the time. I mentioned the fact I felt humiliated by being fired. I think Walt Gray came in and said something that was personal. RJ, I remember you talking about, and forgive me if I'm wrong, I think you remember you talking about your sexuality at that time.
Yeah, I came out to you guys. I was like, yeah, I'm gay. I go to Uncle Charlie's. Pete knows.
Right. And it went around, and this kind of group therapy session went on for like a solid 2 hours, right? It was on. It wasn't like just a one line throwaway thing. And what is most memorable, apart from the honesty that was being displayed that night, was that the trust that you would have to say those things in front of people who you work with, and you have another relationship. Jeff mentioned, professional me and personal me. Well, that was being meshed all at once at that time. I mean, there was literally a crossover, and there was no getting back from it, because you were going to see these people, in my case, the next day. I was going back to work to do stories, and other people were as well. And I remember talking to Walt Gray afterwards, and I said, did that just really happen? He goes, yeah, man, stars align, moon were in place. You don't get that a whole lot. Wow. I said, you better not. But it was an amazing, and I want to say almost a liberating experience. I really felt like at that point, I liked these people. I wanted to do the best I can by being with them. And I think from there on in, all the way until I left in March of '88, it was a memorable experience. I don't know if you guys ever remember that, but that for me will stay forever.
I think that's
Very
the
nice.
bottom line of what Channel 6 meant to all of us. The fact that, we know each other, and 40 some odd years later, here we are talking about it.
Yeah,
We don't
that's
know
crazy.
each other, and that doesn't happen often. That doesn't happen everywhere.
Yeah, it's true. And it's great to see you guys, by the way.
Yeah.
It really, really is. Really, really is.
I think I learned to be a better reporter. I know I was a far better reporter after I left Miami. And it's a shame. I really wish I'd been there with you guys for the Hurricane Andrew coverage. But I know because I'd been there when I covered Hugo a year later in Charleston, almost got killed.
Yeah.
I was prepared because of what had happened in Miami up to a point and other places as well. And I'm grateful for that.
Jeff, final thoughts?
I don't know. Charles Dickens kind of comes to mind about being the best of times and the worst of times. It wasn't really the worst of times, but I think for all of us, there were lots of highs and lows, but we came out of it. We came out of it. I think we all understand ourselves a little bit better. I think that the experiences we had, good and bad, have just helped shape us in lots and lots and lots of ways. And in a lot of ways, I'm glad for the way things turned out. I'm glad I was there. I'm glad I was a part of it, and I'm glad I'm gone from it. And I'm never coming back. You can't go back. You really can't.
Yeah, it's true. It did change you on the way out, but we did the good work going through it, and that's what it was important. That was what was important at the time. And the way we came out of it doesn't matter because we learn our good lessons and then we keep moving forward in life. So it's all good. It's all good.
It's funny. I mentioned this to RJ one more time. And years after the experience takes place and you don't realize how it impacts on you, things happen in your life. They're brought back and give you a different perspective. I was fired in March of '88. No arguments, probably deserved it. Had a big mouth as a kid, but I learned from my experience. You guys don't know this story, but I told RJ briefly. 20 years after I left Channel 6, I'm in the law office in Hollywood. And I come back from lunch and I have a message from my assistant saying, this person called you. And this person employed me at Channel 6. And so I thought it was a joke. First of all, I hadn't talked to this person in 20 years. Second of all, I had no idea why this person would be reaching out to me. But I thought, okay, I'll bite. I'll call. I called the person. And the person got on and said, how are you? We did some small talk. I said, look, I got to get back to work. What's going on? And he said, I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry it didn't work out. I'm sorry I had to let you go. I wish it worked out differently. And I thought to myself, okay, am I living in some parallel universe here or something? Is this going on really? Are you really telling me this at 48 when I was 28 at the time? And he said, I just wanted to let you know, I wish it worked out differently. He said, I understand you did some good work after you left. I'm very sorry that it had to come down to that. I thought, well, that's nice. Thank you. What am I supposed to do with that? But I hung up and I thought, this is the most surreal thing I've ever had. I don't know if you guys have ever had that before, because unlike my Green Bay days, the Miami firing was really traumatic. I said earlier, I wanted to be there. And so when I couldn't stay there anymore, I literally felt less than a professional at that stage. It was a bad time. I went through a period of depression in that summer. It was not good. And so for him to come back and tell me these things, and two counts, in one case, it felt validated that I said, well, maybe I really wasn't that bad. But on the other hand, I was angry because I thought to myself, well, why the hell didn't you figure this out, 20 years ago instead of letting me, twist on a vine? But
I'm still waiting for my apology.
I know.
You're not going to get it. I'm waiting for one too, so don't worry about it.
Well,
but
please
wait for one too. So we're never getting them.
Yeah, let me add an asterisk to that.
If I disappear, I'm on really low battery, so I might go.
I'm not really waiting for the apology. But the circumstances, some things happen for a reason, and sometimes just shit happens. I've added that where the people always said, everything happens for a reason. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Sometimes just shit happens. But had those circumstances in our lives, and me personally, not happened like they did, I wouldn't be where I am today. Had I been made full time, God knows where I'd be now.
Yeah,
Right.
But the natural progression of leaving Miami, going to Harrisburg, being back in my home area for 2.5 years at the number 3 station, and then leaving there and, keeping my mouth shut and, not being mouthy about it and just nose to the grindstone when the writing was on the wall. And I got a job here, and here I've been for 30 and a half years, and it's been at a great TV station, and I'm able to still do my creative stuff.
Awesome.
Agreed. Yep.
I got to go.
Pete, thank you very much.
Great seeing you.
Good to see
Mark.
Jeff,
again, you guys.
Awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
All right, Jeff. Thanks. Mark, thank you very much.
And guys, it seems like somebody else's life. But anyway.
Yeah.
Jeff, good luck to you up in Deltona.
Yeah.
And your endeavors.
I work with records. I've been in 5 or 6 documentaries since my Channel 6 days.
Perfect.
So I think some are on YouTube. The main one was called Deep City, the birth of the Florida Sound.
In the 60s, every city in the country had a soul scene, but each city had a different sound.
Right.
Jeff, what's your YouTube page?
YouTube page I think it's just my name.
JEFFLEMLICH?
Yeah. Search my name. I think you'll find it.
I left Detroit when I was 31 years old. And I went back to law school and made the decision to go. My agent about had a coroner when I told him. But I think you go through that business as a young person because you have the tolerance level and the stamina and the wherewithal. And I think RJ would understand this, and the resiliency to be able to come back from a number of setbacks in order to try to progress, such as it is. But you have these wealth of stories in that 10 years of my life. I mean, when I went to law school when I was 31, they looked at me like I was from Mars. I mean, they had no idea what we used to do. I would tell them stories about hurricanes and riots and shootouts and this, that, and the other. And it was just as if somebody had landed, like an alien had come down on the planet and started talking about these things. But I am so grateful. I couldn't do it again, but I'm glad that I did it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I look back now and I've only been off TV since September 15th, 2023, which is why I have to do all this other stuff, because you just work up to that level to do it. So I'm enjoying doing it at my own pace and being like, okay, I got to edit this. Oh, I think I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't have to do it live.
I had limitless energy in those days.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it was an interesting time. I will say this. I've had my practice for 15 years on my own, been as an attorney of 30. I can't believe I'm saying that. And I've had a number of friends retire, some on the air who are retired already, others who have not. They're lawyers or other practicing professionals. I would like to do something else. I don't know what that something else is. It will not entail day-to-day answering of phone calls, arguing with adjusters, pleading with clients, et cetera, et cetera. But I feel that there is another act to be played out. I have yet to figure out what that is.
Maybe a video podcast.
Maybe I'd love to be able to talk with you. This is it. You talk with your friends about interesting things. What could be greater? I don't know how I'd monetize it, but it would be a wonderful thing to do. And I'd find that fascinating. I mean, I'm sure half of what I said is going to end up on the cutting room floor, but it's been fun to at least relay these things and have them somehow memorialized so that people can look at it and go, wow, those guys were really weird back then. When they did. I would never trade the experience ever. Guys, thank you for everything. RJ, thanks for the invite. It was wonderful. Anytime.
Hi, Mark.
Thanks. All right, guys. Take good care. All right, bye-bye.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks.
Bye.
In the next installment, Season 1, Episode 5, we'll go to WHP-TV 21 in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. My subsequent stop back in my formative years' home area before arriving at NBC 10, WJAR-TV in Providence in the early 90s. Thanks for watching. Click the subscribe button. Share it with your friends and followers. For audio-only versions of this podcast, go to rjheim10.podbean.com or on Apple, search Up and Down the Broadcast Trail and subscribe to my channel, RJ Heim Broadcaster. Also, don't forget to check out the Audio Companion. All genres and all eras of contemporary music in one free web radio station. Music Through the Tunnel of Time.
MusicThroughTheTunnelOfTime.com.
Get the app for listening on the go, app.mtttot.com, or on desktop, mtttot.com. Catch you next time.